Hey there, welcome back to the Fanboy Cantina. Sorry we're running a little bit late. We had some technical issues here. Hey there, Mr. C, how are you doing?
Well, I don't know who or what could have been the cause of the technical issues at this point in time, but all things considered, as always, happy to be a part of the Fanboy Cantina tonight.
Well, part of the issue was I was muted at one point, so that was part of the problem. It was not on you, it was me. But anyways, nobody else cares about it. We've got a shorter, well, we've got a long agenda, but a short amount of time because what's happening later this evening, Mr. C?
Well, airing on the Me TV network, what's being billed as, instead of unscripted, as Svengoolie Uncrypted. So we've got an hour-long Sven show, the likes of which Rich Koz, the human being who portrays the character formerly known as Son of Svengoolie, in current times known as Svengoolie. So what will we see exactly? For those of us who would be watching that, very curious and looking forward to it. So that'll give us a FBC curfew, if you will, for tonight's broadcast.
Something like that. So, and thank you, Jim Campbell. Let's start this puppy up. This I command, Cobra, la 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 la. Very nice. And I think that's actually a good transition to. So we're going to cover a bunch of things in this one. We've got. We're going to talk about Hasbro PulseCon, which just happened. We're also going to talk about Andor. We're now at episode 4. A little bit of She-Hulk. I do want to make sure we get this Munsters, so maybe we go in. I don't know quite what order. And then this selfie series thing. Actually, I didn't upload the picture there, but I guess I'll multitask during that part. All right, so let me get rid of the graphic and I'll share my. Did you watch any of the Hasbro PulseCon, Mr. C?
Oh, now I wish I would have. I was so proud of myself for just moments ago finishing the entirety of the Munsters episode, so I could say that I actually did it. So then we'll split. You have
it's the Hasbro
content, I have the Munster content. There you go. So what was your read on the Hasbro show? And before I formally kick that question to you, let me say I am representing our friend of the channel, vice versa, the MIB
nice
Master Toy Museum. So his t-shirts have just arrived with him, and definitely I'm representing the MIB t-shirt over here. So that being said, Hasbro Pulse, take us to it, sir.
All right, so Hasbro PulseCon is a new event. I guess this is the second year or third year that they've had this thing. Hasbro's event for showcasing the latest and greatest within Hasbro and all of its brands, or many of its brands. I was kind of underwhelmed by this year's event. I felt as though, or I didn't feel it. We saw a lot of things that had been previously announced. In some cases, they had the live item or the figure to show, as opposed to a digital render. But I didn't feel like we saw a whole lot that was new and different. So among the things that I enjoyed most, and let me hover. Don't know why the cursor works that way. So Indiana Jones is now back in the Hasbro brand, or at least Hasbro is producing items for Indiana Jones. And this was kind of cool to me in that they've got the. Is this showing up okay? So they've got the.
Oh, yeah, I see it great.
Okay, so they've got the Staff of Ra headpiece. And we just did a video the other day about Disney and its own Staff of Ra piece. I prefer this one. I think it's plastic and it's a little bit toy-like compared to the Disney piece, but at least you can see through the Staff of Ra, and it does have a light-up effect when you stick the Staff of Ra into one of the specific holes in that stand, then it lights up. I thought that was cool. I didn't have any Indiana Jones toys as a kid. I don't think so. They've got this retro version that where he'll do a quick draw action, so that's kind of cool. And I think these 6-inch action figures are interesting. You've got Indiana Jones on the right, and then you've got, is it Tot? Tot? How do you say? I've never known. Is it Tot? Tot. We'll make it up.
Let's say I've heard it both ways, so we can dodge having to specify which one it is and which one it isn't. But yeah, I mean, right, one of the top villains of not just the film but of the indie series. So good to see it. You know, for some opposability there, that you can pit the good guy against the bad guy.
The bad guy.
By both figures.
Yeah, but the most horrifying thing about this is that it comes with an alternate melting head accessory, along with a burnt hand accessory. In case you want to do that, we're not going to even say it. So, yeah.
The thing about burning your hand is sometimes you only get half of the story. And
That's right. That's right. I mean, this was shocking in the movie, shocking that there's an actual toy. But again, I do love this Staff of Ra thing. Going back to the Hasbro PulseCon, so that one I felt like was kind of the one new things that were revealed. There was otherwise, there was information about this earlier about the oh golly, it doesn't show up in the right order here, does it? But they had shared earlier the exclusives that would be coming for Hasbro PulseCon. Yeah, it's not showing up in order. So one of them is this. This is a very large set, $75, and it includes. You've got the Dark Trooper guy. Why does this not rotate? Oh, there it is. So you got the Dark Trooper with the flame accessories, and then you've got this kind of diorama thing happening, which is cool. But I already have like a bunch of these figures already, so I passed on it. There's also a Black Series B2 Emo along with Cassian Andor, so that looks okay. That looks good. I did actually place a pre-order for this set, and just because, yeah. So there you can see what it looks like. You've got the two sides opening up, and you've got B2 Emo on one side, and then you've got Cassian Andor on the other.
Looks really good to me. I mean, for my eye, right, this is way more your wheelhouse than mine.
Yeah.
As a person sitting here looking at the image, Cassian Andor looks like Diego Luna. It
does. Yeah, absolutely. And then with the G.I. Joe franchise, the G.I. Joe Classified franchise, we saw Serpentor. Serpentor actually was announced back at San Diego Comic-Con, and then we got to see the actual figures for Outback. What is it? Outback, Lieutenant Falcon, the Crimson Bat, and CoverGirl, as well as the Marauders version of Barbecue. So I did place a pre-order for CoverGirl and Outback. I think Outback looks fantastic. This was one of my favorite action figures as part of the G.I. Joe A Real American Hero line. It's a good looking action figure. It looks really good. So I like that one. And I did place a pre-order for the G.I. Joe Classified Serpentor along with the Air Chariot. This thing sold out very, very quickly. So if you missed out, I do feel for you there. It's a good looking action figure, I think, for the most part. I think the Air Chariot looks cool. I'm not comfortable with the price tag of $80 for this thing. So you figure that the Serpentor is probably $25, and that means that the Air Chariot is $55. Seems like a lot of money, but it looks relatively cool for the most part. Oh, and so good question from Jim Campbell here. Belloc without his trench coat or melted / burnt hand? Yeah, I don't think. I think with Belloc, it's kind of safer. So there's not an exploding head accessory because he is in this one. He is dressed in right? That final sequence. If there was any kind of thing that would trigger me to get the whole set of 5 action figures, it's a build a relic set. So with each action figure, you get the pieces so that you can build the Ark of the Covenant in that 6-inch scale.
Well, I know Campbell and others among us are fans of the Build-A-Figure, but the Build-A-Relic is just essentially the same thing, but it just sounds cool to the ear. Ooh, Build-A-Relic, build the Ark of the Covenant, have it stored away where only top men will know of its location and its its tag number or its card catalog numbers to locate it.
Yep, that's right. You know, and they don't have an ad for the on their main excuse me on their main page for the Marvel and Power Rangers and other reveals at the moment. Apparently, they just took it down. Excuse me. This is Ironheart, apparently from how she appears in Wakanda Forever. So that's an interesting reveal of what she may look like in the film. This one, I need to drink something. This one was kind of tempting for me. This is how are we on time? This is the Marvel Legends Daredevil, Elektra, and Bullseye set. I already have 2 out of the 3 here. I don't think I have a Bullseye. And so I passed on it because I just don't. I'm feeling a little bit of fatigue of having different versions of the same characters. So yeah, I took a pass. $75.
Each of the 3 of them looks great to me. Again, the Elektra having different, white, sometimes red, but that's a real, like, the white pops, just to put a simple observation out there. Bullseye, again, it's captured his facial expression. That's who Bullseye is. The face of Bullseye is who Bullseye is. And then good old Matt Murdock there, daring young man flying through the air. That's a really good depiction of Daredevil.
Yeah, I think yes, it's a great looking set. I think it's better if you don't already have. I think I have at least 2 versions of Elektra. No, I think I have maybe more than 2 versions of Elektra in the 6-inch scale. So yeah, that was a pass for me. But overall, I didn't feel like we had learned much that was new or different. I mean, the latest wave does look, or the upcoming wave does look quite cool. Dark Phoenix looks great. That's a spectacular looking action figure. But yeah, otherwise, I felt a little uninspired by Hasbro PulseCon this year.
I believe I was watching the Whoosh channel, where I think where Robo was breaking down the Ghost Rider set, and to me, I don't anticipate that I'm going to get it, but just the visual on it is really intriguing to me. I'm in favor of the way that the Ghost Rider looks there, and you had no idea I was going to pick a C-lister or D-lister villain to comment on, but prior to that, you had the new Brotherhood of Evil Mutants, as led by Mystique. The character Avalanche was one of the ones you pictured a few minutes ago. Yep. Hey, why am I talking Avalanche when Ghost Rider is here? Look at that Ghost Rider! It's some good Ghost Rider, man. So the skull isn't the traditional, circa the Johnny Blaze stuff, but I mean that his motorcycle black leather riding suit there is one of the classic. I mean, it understated, but it does its job. It fits well with the Johnny Blaze character or with the Flaming Skull appearance, and to have the switch over and get more current, and there's the muscle car, so it's really good.
Yeah, no, I mean it looks really great. Is it $350 great? I don't know.
Oh, well.
Yeah, that's going to be a little hard to stomach, but it's an enormous vehicle. It's an enormous vehicle. And unfortunately, it didn't meet its like early bird threshold where folks said that this thing would have gotten an additional action figure. They just announced that even though you won't be getting that action figure now, if you choose to back it, they will include the head and like a hoodie accessory, so that it can you can essentially make that figure. You can actually make the character. They haven't announced what all the tiers are going to be on this thing, but yeah, $350. I don't know about that. I don't think I can do it.
So
Or
I don't
no.
know the exact year, make, and model that they're looking for. Is it a Mustang? Is it a Camaro? I'm not sure. Exposing my lack of knowledge of current Ghost Rider in the comics. But I would sooner take the 350 and go in the direction of the Volo Auto Museum, not too far from the good old Windy City here, and take that 350 towards a down payment on whichever classic car they have on the lot that closest approximates the Ghost Rider mobile.
I mean, I think it's a really great piece. If folks have the disposable income to add such a thing, or if you're a muscle car fan, right? I think there's an audience there, or maybe you're a Fast and Furious fan, is pretty close to the what is the name, Tintoretto, the Vin Diesel character thing. I'm not a Fast and Furious fan, obviously, but I think you're pretty close. I can't stomach it. I can't do it. It looks cool.
Duly noted.
It looks cool. Yeah. So so just overall. And these are good looking action figures. The new upcoming Black Series action figures for based on the Andor series. So those are good looking. But yeah, I don't know. I felt a little uninspired by the PulseCon this year.
Well, maybe next year. Maybe they just had a sophomore slump. Maybe next year they'll be at the top of their game. We'll have to see.
Yeah, and also I think that what is it? Okay, so we got sorry, okay, all right, and then does the Robert? So that's a great point. Yes, Robert Pattinson in the Batman, there is a vehicle, a car that looks very much like the Ghost Rider ride here. It's a little different, but it's pretty close. It's close enough. So
now
yeah,
that's a buddy cop genre spinoff that I will never really see, but boy, oh boy, Ghost Rider and Batman, that would be like the time, Campbell, that my car was in the shop and you drove me over to the car place to pick up my car. It would be exactly that, except Ghost Rider and Batman and not you and me.
I mean, you could have Vin Diesel and Ghost Rider and the Robert Pattinson Batman all right up together, and yeah, it might be confusing. Whose ride is whose? All right. So I don't know if I have much else to say about the Hasbro PulseCon. Looking at the actual action figures was helpful. It got me a little bit more interested in, as I said, about the Outback figure, along with CoverGirl here as well. But yeah. All right. Let's move on. So let's talk about what you were watching, which is the Munsters.
Man, let me tell you. I'm trying to sit here and pinpoint, the wrong turn, the misstep, okay. So the perfect way to do. So the logo, it's the right logo. The updated or slightly reinterpreted Grandpa, the hair is a little different, but looks like Grandpa Munster. Lily looks like Lily Munster. Herman looks like Herman Munster. So, okay, do we have the look down for something that's compatible to the classic look of the Munsters? Yes, we do. I would say the lighting was also, the costumes, the paint, the makeup, the lighting. There were some pieces that were correctly in place or functionally in place. There you go, even better. Look at that. Those look like Munsters to me, okay? But it's a near miss. I think it's a tough property to reinterpret. Every time there's been an attempt to reboot, I would say it's fallen short. And there's been things in the 90s, the something that went really far afield, which is now many years gone by, had Jerry O'Connell in I forget the cast, but the name of the show was 1313 Mockingbird Lane. It appeared on NBC at the time. So that was like a wildly reinterpreted Munsters. And to me, that is they released it as just a TV movie for one night, a Halloween special. To me, that one worked as something that's radically different. But I wanted to like this. There were, again, some of the building blocks were there. Some of the foundation was well laid, but even the jokes were in the Munster style of jokes. Even maybe you tapped out or discontinued viewing before, but in the classic Munsters, Herman says, "Car 54, where are you?" Because the actors Al Lewis and Fred Gwynn, before cast as the Munsters, their previous show was Car 54, so they reused some of those exact same jokes. So clearly they've studied. Clearly Rob Zombie and his crew have reverence for the classic Munsters, and they've studied and tried to adapt things. But it just fell short, and I wanted to like it, but I just couldn't get there. And as I can continue to contemplate why, is it just because it was a lightning in a bottle? The time for the Munsters has passed. Somehow the Addams Family has been more successfully reinterpreted across time, but that has not been the fate of the Munsters. So that's my take. Fanboy G, your thoughts on the Rob Zombie Munsters?
So again, with the technical thing, so I just realized that the gain was grotesquely high. So if anybody watching has heard me shouting for the past whatever, I apologize. So I think I've gotten it adjusted properly. I hated it. Yeah, I watched 8 minutes of it. So kudos to you. So I just kudos to you for making it through. I felt like I was being punked for watching it. When we chatted with MIB, right? When we chatted with MIB, one of the objectives that we have with this thing is, to talk about things in a balanced or appreciative way. Even if there's something that I don't like, I will say often, I wish that I liked it as much as somebody else. However, in this case, I feel like it's unwatchable trash. I felt that the whole staging was poor. I saw a comment that it's like a 12-year-old with a camcorder, because in some of the setup of the shots, it's like that. You've got at the 8-minute mark, you've got Lily and whatever the Nosferatu looking guy talking with each other, and it is like nothing you see on normal TV, because you don't do it that way. Yeah, go ahead.
The fact that a Nosferatu character was included who didn't look like amateur hour, like he looked to me legitimately designed. Yeah. The Gill Man, because they reused the Creature of the Black Lagoon costume. I think it was just for one episode on the classic Munsters as Uncle Gilbert. So you had a guest starring bit of Butch Patrick. You had a guest starring voiceover of Pat Priest. You had a guest star influence of Cassandra Peterson, who's best known for her role as Elvira. It wasn't like, hey, that Nosferatu doesn't look like a Nosferatu. So again, there's just it got out of the starting gate, but then just barely out of the starting gate. Again, the look of it, the mannerisms, even. So as I've said before, like Ian McGregor found a way to replicate the mannerisms of Alec Guinness, and I would say with great success. But in this case, even though they find a way to replicate the mannerisms, it's without success.
Yeah, it's the script, I think, was just not great, and it made me wonder, were the jokes not funny in the original Munsters TV show, and you needed to have the laugh track? No, I think actually it was a funny show. Certainly the laugh track helped in, just sort of sitcom format, but the jokes weren't funny. I mean, again, 8 minutes of is all I could take of this thing, where he's taking pictures with the zombie character or whatever on the thing. It's just not funny. So I did like the lighting, and that was it. That was all I liked about it. I do like Rob Zombie as a musician. I mean, was it Thunder Kiss 66 or something like that came out at night? That's an awesome song. But yeah, man, a lot. I could just I enjoy the Munsters. I have a lot of pleasant memories of watching the Munsters after school, but this was just a outright train wreck. And sorry, still playing NBA, but your voice. Okay, all right, great, fine. Multitasking while this could be a podcast. We talked
priorities. Yeah, this one could. Well, but see, well, we'll speak on the podcast business another time. But then very often we're showing visual things, so I don't know what draw that would be for pod, or maybe so. Anyway, the other final comment I'll have on Munsters as another example of Rob Zombie being well invested in the Munsters history. The horror TV host within the Munsters continuity was Zombo. And the episode in which he was featured, young Eddie Munster was so enamored with Zombo. And there was a thing about the dad feeling that his son, Herman, feeling that Eddie Munster was losing interest in his dad, but was idolizing Zombo. And then in the classic Munster show, they get a studio tour. They get to be guests in the place. And then Eddie's like, hey, this stuff's all fake. This isn't real. This isn't a real dungeon. I can't remember exactly, but then Eddie becomes disenchanted or that classic thing. If you meet your heroes, will you be disappointed? So just, again, credit that so much of the stuff was well researched or is in the knowledge base, but I wish it wouldn't have fallen short. Clearly, I got to call it as it is. It did fall short.
It fell. It was not even close. Hey, so I'm gonna move us on to another random thing. Did you see this? Did you see that Hugh Jackman is back again to play the role of Wolverine, or we assume so, in Deadpool 3? Some of the Twitter chatter about that is, didn't Logan die? But there was a follow-up video that Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman did explaining that happens in 2029. So he is properly still dead in Logan. But thoughts, reactions to the news?
It's possible it's a fake out, but I think they realize the degree to which people would be upset if it is a fake out. So given that Deadpool has a mixture of comedy and adventure and action and love interest as well. But so since Deadpool first appeared in his mouth sewn shut format in the Wolverine movie, I think maybe there's an interesting full circle, or maybe there's some interesting retconning to be applied. So am I curious of it? Yes. Would I like to see more Hugh Jackman as Wolverine if it's done well? Absolutely, yes. So again, I think that's always a challenge or a tough decision. When is the right time to leave the audience wanting more? When is the right time to step away from a role? When is the right time to hang it up and call it quits? We can make it comparable to an athlete who retires, comes back out of retirement, that kind of a thing. If I have to, and again, I'm always hesitant to predict things here, but I understand if we're speaking here on a show that's some manner of prediction, I will predict that it will be entertaining to me and that I would enjoy watching it. So now, as I reverse the question back to you, given the limited teaser-ish information that we have, what do you think?
I just want to have a good time with this, right? With Deadpool, you don't take it seriously. That's kind of the shtick with that character, right? It's it broke the fourth wall before Jen Walters did in She-Hulk, right? So it's par for the course, and if it's fun, then it's fine, right? we haven't seen them together since that the movie Wolverine. So having the band back together and having Hugh Jackman is it's a joy. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm very curious on what they'll do with this movie, but I think it's fine. And for the Twitter rage about it, like, it's Deadpool. It's Deadpool. What more do you expect here? It does kind of detract a little bit of what was said in Logan, where this was going to be the last time you saw Patrick Stewart and Hugh Jackman in their respective Professor X and Wolverine roles. I get that, but we already had Patrick Stewart come back again in Multiverse of Madness.
And I was good with seeing him there. I made the athletes reference, but now let me see how many times, because I long ago lost count. Mm-hmm. How many times was the final tour for The Who? And I know you've got a good legacy of attended concerts under your belt. Is my memory correct that there was a time in which the Eagles Hell Freezes Over tour was a show that you attended? And again, because I said if we ever hell will freeze over before we ever do another tour, so then they were taking a shot, a genius shot at themselves for touring after they said hell would have to freeze over.
Yeah, and that Hell Freezes Over tour was among my favorite concert experiences ever. In the comments, Chysar G writes, Logan is alive in Deadpool 3 because Logan takes place in the future in 2029. He and Jackman also promised lots of cool action sequences. I somehow can't place Deadpool with all the other superhero movies because of the content and how Deadpool is as a character.
Yeah. Chystar G, art director and now continuity keeper. Well stated, sir. Well stated.
Yeah. I don't know how it works. Either. Will there ever be a time where Deadpool would be part of the broader MCU, like in a team up or something? But Jim Campbell writes a great question: who will they be teaming up to fight?
Campbell, do you have any guesses towards your own question? Because whoever it's going to be, I don't want to say I feel sorry for them, but the deck is stacked against. I mean, that's a irresistible force, immovable object together on the same side of the tug of war line kind of a circumstance. Woe be unto those who oppose.
Yeah, no, I do not know. Okay, I got angry now at the video, so then I'm typing great. Okay, all right. So, this is interesting. Could it be Hulk?
Man, leave it to Campbell to come up with a delicious plot. That sounds real good.
All right, let's move forward here. How are we on time? Okay, so should we talk about Andor or She-Hulk?
Tell you what, which one do you have to? Which of these two choices do you feel you have more appreciation or positive energy?
All right. Well, in that case, it's resoundingly Andor.
Let's go Andor.
Point. Okay, so Andor, we are now at episode 4, just the second week of the series. And just last week, we got 3 episodes, right, that were launched all together, setting the stage for Andor to go on his adventure. And of course, Andor stars Diego Luna as the title character, Adria Arjona as Bix, and Stellan Skarsgård as Luthen, and of course there are many others. I really love the vibe of this series. It feels like a much more mature Star Wars. It's picking up on, I think, generally the type of tone, the type of vibe that Rogue One had. So you've got that, but if not just a little bit darker in feeling. It's also got some first. We've got I think the first sex scene of sorts in the Star Wars universe. But I really love this series. I like the I like where it's going. And I saw, just to address one of the criticism, I've seen a lot of comments about, say, the pacing of this show, the pacing of Andor, but I think the slow burn approach is generally good and positive. It's in those quiet moments where they've you're just looking at the character when Luthen goes into his closet and puts on the wig and then does and changes
He's
character,
getting
and
into the character.
that is just seconds in length and conveys so much about what these characters need to do to survive. And with just building on my comments about Luthen, the moments where you catch different parts of him, right? You see kind of the father figure in the very beginning when we first see him, and then you've got the how he needs to act when he's interacting in Coruscant, and then he yells at the rebel, look at me when I'm talking to you. That's a very darker and probably a good indicator of who his true self may be. Yeah, I love this show.
I am having a reverence for the show as we were watching it. Like some of the between the different Disney Plus features between Marvel or Star Wars or whatever other things are under the Disney Plus umbrella. Sometimes I'm like, okay, this would have been just as well served as a theatrical release. And other times I'm thinking just by whatever the personality, the aspects of the show, if I can borrow an MIB vocabulary word, the aspects of it are better to be viewed at home.
Mm-hmm.
I think Andor would have made it for an amazing theatrical release, which doesn't mean I'm complaining about the format in which I'm viewing it. As we said, just in our one of our most recent episodes, I mostly knew Diego Luna from his voice work on the Book of Life, but as of Andor, I feel like now it's neck and neck. Just he is so, and as I said, he's not a Skywalker and he's not a Han Solo. He's his own kind of guy, and he's so serious. And just the script, the delivery, everything about it. And now, so who's his rival in the show? A younger character, agent of the Empire, little bit hungry to prove himself. So now, and this theme in a very different way plays out in She-Hulk also. I just want to say I actually did find a common bar between the Star Wars side and the Marvel side of what we're currently looking at. Just the idea of obsession. And if an individual cannot rein in their obsessions, what set of consequences do they expose themselves to? And because I don't even know the character's name right now, but the guy that is the guy that Aunt Cassian Andor, that Diego Luna had snuck up on then and said, how many are, 12 or is it 14? Just the way that guy was so out. He thought he was going to come down on the planet and rain down the thunder and run the show. And boy, did he have a surprise coming to him. So again, the building up the credibility or the get over factor. So right now in these early episodes, Andor Cassian has way gotten over his rival, and clearly as the number of episodes continues on, as the story progresses, the stakes are supposed to raise. But for this early go round of it, it was amazing how efficiently and stylistically he just completely dominated his rival. And again, the idea of obsession, I also wanted to reference the seeming love triangle there. And again, I should have done better homework on the other characters' names. But the informant clown who's like, well, I have to eliminate Andor as my rival for the affections. That also brought about his own demise. So as well as being entertaining and looking good and holding my attention on just the pieces of conflict, but thematically, that's at the forefront of my appreciation or my experience as a viewer. Just the theme of obsession and desperation in the combination of obsession and desperation, and how Shakespearean and tragic it is when one meets their own demise because they were feeding into their own obsessions based on desperation.
No, that's great. Yeah, Tim Carlo just is the boyfriend that is dispatched in episode 3. Yeah, the intensity of the Cyril character is really something. I'm very interested in. He goes back home apparently, greeted by his mother. I'm curious where his arc goes. Does he get that much more off the rails? Right, he's not part of the Empire. Apparently, he was part of the. Oh yeah, like how Mr. C says the word obsession. But yeah, I'm very interested in kind of the introduction of all of these characters. We're getting a look at some of our main ones here, but we're also getting a look inside the beginnings of the rebellion, as well as the beginnings of the Empire. Right, they're characterized as being lazy or taking advantage of everybody. In this case, we can see the decimation of a planet, right? For that, because he's what's the name of the planet? We need I need to write more notes up beforehand. So we get to see some of the beginnings of the Empire and how they've built themselves up. We also see some of the political intrigue that's happening within the Empire, so that's an interesting vein. Just in the comments, Jason Jones writes, "It's the birth of the rebellion. They are conveying the slow burn at the beginning. I love it." And yeah, it takes time for people to believe, and so that makes that I agree with that. That's right. I did feel like in the 4th episode, though, did we make sure that every one of the characters said they don't trust Andor? Right? They kind of went through the whole thing. Who is this guy? What was 3 days? I think that they reinforce that it's 3 days from whatever they're doing at least 3 times in 3 minutes in that episode.
He's got to win hearts and minds, and they just want to clearly define it. Again, some of the language and tone was more adult friendly, but maybe I speculate that was also to keep things clear cut for younger viewers who are anticipating, oh, well, the heroes should just naturally get together and as they bring their group together.
Do you think that Luthen? So one of the Twitter things I saw. Do you think that Luthen's ship becomes K2SO? Do you think that its consciousness becomes K2SO?
Can't rule it out.
Because it's got a little bit of an attitude. It's like looking at Andor. What are you doing? Can I help you?
Did Paul Bettany, the actor voicing Jarvis, then get reinterpreted into the Vision? So yes, in that sense. So it could work again.
So just some random disparate comments here. Aren't you chilly in the outdoor tiki hut, Mr. C? You might want to open up a can of Jim Campbell soup with oyster crackers, which I don't think I've seen in a very long time. But yeah.
For all you know, just below the camera, in Campbell's corner, I do have a bowl of Campbell soup keeping me warm.
All right, and you saw the I like how Mr. C says obsession. I'm obsessed with that, and your new cologne by Calvin Klein. Very nice.
Oh man.
I was wondering if I've got the CNET article up here. So I was wondering if we might see Dryden Voss. Remember, Dryden Voss is the Paul Bettany character from Solo, the Star Wars story. And but the time is off because I think we're at 5 BBY here before the Battle of Yavin in this series, versus I think Solo takes place 10 or 12 years before the Battle of Yavin. So Dryden Voss is dead by this point, but because because he has that affinity for antiques, I was thinking, oh, maybe he'll cross over here. It would please me to bits if for some reason we saw other characters from Solo just appear at all, but that may not happen. And not every show has to be a moment of fan service either.
I'm glad you have still on Starscar's name on the screen, because I mean, anybody put Diego Luna plus whoever else was in the scene with him was so good, but possibly arguably the best point counterpoint exchange of lines and exchange of emotive interaction between the two characters when they're in that meet up to do the payoff, and then the all of a sudden they're under assault, and then we start the factory equipment, the things are swinging around on the chains. Wow, the intensity between the two of them was the chemistry between the actors and the intensity between the characters was all top quality stuff.
Yeah, Stellan Skarsgård, or right off the bat, elevates the material, as does Diego. Everybody, I feel, is knocking it out of the park performance wise, and I'm all in. There's just I think it's 12 episodes in this series. So at 4, so then that means we are in the front third of this, or maybe it's in quarters, and so we're in the beginning of the second act, as it were. I'm interested in where this will go. Oh, one last thing on this, because we should get to She-Hulk quickly. In episode 4, we see the rebels, or this band of soldiers with particular rifles that look like AK-47s or Kalashnikov rifles. Did that take you out of the series at all to see something that looks a little modern?
No, in other times, compared to the Power Ranger Vespa scooter thing, which did take me a bit out of that in the other series. So no, I mean, maybe if I do a rewatch now that you've planted the suggestion with me, maybe I'll be like, yeah, what's going on here? But just it never occurred to me that that was taking me out of the flow of it. But maybe that's because the series earned it. Maybe because you got acting and writing and script and all that.
Mm-hmm. Uh-oh.
So just maybe it just washed right by me because it was well earned.
Right. Yeah, it didn't take me out of the show. Yes, it's a signature look. It has a particular look, so I recognized it as that. But yeah, in this context, where it's kind of this guerrilla band of soldiers, it didn't take me out of the series at all. Is the Mandalorian? I think it is. It's just now it's been a beat, right? It's been a while since the second season wrapped up, so it's been a while for sure.
Right, I would say comparable to the old days, the 70s, the 80s, what have you. A network show during the summer, when in its off season, it wasn't going to be tracking, or it wasn't going to be generating as much of a buzz after episode 23 or 22 or what have you until the next season. So that's how I'd currently categorize Mandalorian.
Yeah. All right, so going back to the 2-shot. Oh, one thing about Hasbro Pulse that I did like, I really like this. This is an upcoming play set for the Vintage Collection line. This is the bunker from Andor. With the Hasbro line, they seem to be regurgitating or redoing a lot of things that have already been produced. As they make incremental improvements, it's good, but I don't need to have, as I already said, I don't need to have multiple versions of the same thing. But that thing I don't think has been produced before. So I'm very interested in that. I do have a prop. This is B2. This is B2 Emo, or B, who appears at least in the first 3 episodes. This thing is cool in that you can. It is that accordion kind of setup. So just like in the series, it can squat down like this and extend itself. So that's kind of fun. I picked this up.
I like the droid's expression. I liked his construction. just a shade similar to the black hole, tiny robots
That's right.
going around. Vincent and
Vincent,
Bob.
yes. Yeah, that's right.
Oh, I like the character. Yes.
It got pixelated for a moment there. I don't know if it's you or me or what, but yeah, you're right. It does have that black hole kind of a vibe to it. Do you think you ever can be too emo?
You're asking somebody who just last night watched in a live performance the Pet Shop Boys in New Order. So, given that's how I've spent my time, I'm inclined to answer that question as not so much.
All right, very nice. All right, so last thing that we've got is She-Hulk episode, I think 7 now.
And we had not commented on 5 or 6.
No, we had not, and I haven't felt the urgency to do that either. So with episode 7, we've got and this is CNET again here. So no, this is Marvel.com. Excuse me. So this is the title of Jennifer Walters versus Emma Blonsky and the rest here. So now we've got a vehicle for introducing. Is it even D-list? Is there something less than D? Manbull, Elagula, Saracen, Porcupine, and Wrecker, who appeared earlier, comes back again. Mr. C, how are you doing with She-Hulk?
Let me just say the singular celebratory comment I have for episode 5 was the Titania character as portrayed by Jamila Jamil. So she naturally, in her own speaking voice, having grown up across the pond, speaks as does a British person. So the fact that she could so naturally affect what seems to be a West Coast accent in her role as Titania, I would say that's quality acting. So now that I've said something positive about 5, let's jump ahead to 7 because I don't have much else to say about episode 5 or episode 6. What I do have to say about episode 7, let me follow the call and response or the setup and payoff that I had tried to make earlier. In a very different way, we're looking at a character's obsession, Jennifer Walters' obsession. But hey, you know what? For having such a big transition in life where you went from being a lawyer to now you're a lawyer and a Hulk, right? That's really something to get used to. So I thought the comedy for episode 7 delivered so much better than episodes 5 and episode 6. And I'm like, come on, what are we doing? We're on Blonsky's hideaway. But then you see these obscure characters, and the fact that they're playing off the Matador bit, and so just everything about that was great. And again, I found it funny. The intro moments, which were clearly setups, were really sweet as they occurred in the moment. That Jen deserves some happiness. You see her be happy. We'll get to the end at the end, but so I really was on board with the transition from comedy to an actual legitimate piece of self-exploration for the character's identity, for her dual, as she's integrating her dual identity as herself and her new alter ego of She-Hulk. So that's a classic superhero thing, right? How does each superhero integrate their civilian role into their cape and cowl identity? So I really liked episode 7. Your take on episode 7?
I wish I enjoyed the show as much as you. I think the writing is a little on the rough side. The CGI is definitely on the rough side. Oftentimes, where I am looking at Jen Walters as She-Hulk or as the She-Hulk character, it's very rough. It looks very rough in the moment in the tent, not the where they're having that session, that dialogue. You know, it's very. It doesn't look right. It doesn't look right. I think the actors are doing the best that they can with the material that's given. But I think that the material is just not strong. I did like seeing Patty Harrison in last week's episode. That was the bride in that episode. She was great in a movie called Together Together that I saw last year. I thought she was great in that movie. I think she was wasted in The Lost City, and she was fine in this series. But I thought it was. I think that this series should be stronger than. I wish it was better than what it is. And yeah, we've got a comment from Jim Campbell. For me, once I accepted the lightheartedness, that's entirely valid. That's entirely right. It is deliberately a different type of vibe. And hey there, Nick, it's great to have you here. So hey there, happy Saturday.
Happy Saturday.
Yeah. Yeah, if we're looking at like an overarching, we're about out of time, aren't we? So if we're looking for an overarching theme, it's a little bit on the glacial side, a little bit on the slow side, right? Okay, so we probably suspected that the boyfriend was going to be actually not a good person. It's unfortunate that was the turn. But it seems like it's leading up to, they now have, whoever the big bad is, they now have the blood, and now we'll do something nefarious with the remaining episodes. But it's a little bit slow when it comes to driving an overarching.
Right. In those exit moments of the show, as we approach our exit moments, definitely, at least now we have a setup for some overarching, the master villain, if you will, the arch foe, the big deal conflict is starting to be set in motion.
Yep. All right. So we said we're going to keep it short. So I think we need to wrap it up because we're bumping against Svengoolie, right?
Right. So
my goodness.
Hey, we're already there. All right. Well.
Oh man. Well, I am going to do a brief sidebar quickly here. So Podcast of the Wills, if you are not watching ATG Cast already, you are missing out in life and existence, because they just do all across ATG Cast. It's just wonderful content, and they have tremendous interviews and other stuff. So that is actually one of the groups that I support through Patreon. So check them out. Check out Podcast of the Wills for sure. And okay, so quick. And when's the next? I don't know. We need to figure out a regular time for this thing, Mr. C.
We were once there. We may well soon get there again. Just my closing of MIB is watching. These are the container store containers I was speaking of. They come in a few different sizes. I mean, just because I'm flinging them around, they are able to stand up better. And then as a transition, as I'm about to go watch Svengoolie, here's my new container store container for good old Rich Coes and Sven.
Hey, that's a smart design. I need to get some of that myself. All right. Well, thank you so much. Sorry to kind of rush it out, but thank you so much for watching. If you could do us a favor, hit the like, hit the subscribe. If you're watching later, please do post in the comments, because we love to continue the conversation. All right. Thanks so much. This has been the Fanboy Cantina. Watch Svengoolie right now so you can get all of the floating chickens. And no, it's not a 3M. All right, so take care. Thanks for watching. This has been the Fanboy Cantina.
Good night, everybody.